contenders Leeds Rhinos in the Women's Challenge Cup semi-final, and the York City Knights' reward for their big beating of Barrow in the quarter-final is a trip on the road to informed Castleford Tigers, who beat Saints last weekend. So three of the top, all four Women's Super League clubs in those ties, but three of the real high-flying clubs there. Ties will be played next weekend, and then the Challenge Cup and Shield Finals Day actually has now been moved to Warrington Wolves Halliwell Jones Stadium on Saturday the 4th of August. The kick-off times are still to be confirmed for that, but that's interesting because it was going to be held at Wigan's Robin Park Arena, which is pretty small in comparison to the Halliwell Jones. So I think that's a positive move for the women's game, that they've seen that there's growth there, that there's interest there, and that moving it to a bigger stadium. It's probably a stadium that's slightly too big from a stadium that was slightly too small, but it's progress. And Saturday, August the 4th, we all know now, so that's a good chance for fans of any of these clubs to go to it. And there won't just be the one game, because the Women's Challenge Cup semi-final draw is Castleford versus York and Wigan versus Leeds. But what they've done in the women's competition is, before the quarterfinals, they split off the sides that had lost at that point into the Challenge Shield, and the semi-final draw there is Stanningley versus Brighouse and Wakefield Trinity versus Bradford Bulls. Bulls will be the big favourites in that, being the only Super League club, but Wakefield Trinity's women's side have had a decent start to their campaign as well, and it's going to be an all Yorkshire final in that competition.
Yes.
And the Brighouse Rangers ladies side are one that are close to my heart, because I've told you a few times. We ran in the night before the Challenge Cup final in 2015 when we were down in London on my stag do. So there you go. So I'll be supporting those ladies all the way in that, and hopefully they'll get to the final of that, and hopefully Wigan Warriors will too from perspective. Okay, that is news from around the world of Rugby League wrapped up, because no big new news has happened whilst we've been recording this, Sarah, which we half expected to happen on a Monday morning, but there you go. So we're now going to move on to look back at the last week's games in Super League. Super League match reviews now, sponsored by Rob's Toy Shop on eBay. You can find a wide range of toys, gifts, Rugby League birthday cards and more, and that more includes England face paint to get yourselves ready for football coming home. All at Rob's Toy Shop on eBay. Visit stores.ebay.co.uk/Rob's Toy Shop, and on any orders over £5 you can earn 5% cash back, and also 1% of your order value will go to the SLP coffers to get your cash back and put some money in our coffers. SLP discount is what you need to put in at checkout, and if you want to give the SLP the full 5%, you can do that too by messaging Rob's Toy Shop when you make your order. And what you can do is go and check out our blog after you've listened to the show, superleaguepod.com, and you will see all those details there and a link through to Rob's Toy Shop to buy your England face paint. Okay, Super League round 20 it was. Average attendance this week, pretty solid, 8,367. I think that's a reasonably successful one, even though we would have liked more. We start with the lowest attended game of the week, Thursday night game, and it was Huddersfield versus your Hull FC, Sarah, in front of 4,696. Robert Hicks was a referee. It finished 29-18 after Huddersfield having a fairly commanding 19-6 half-time lead. Do you want to start us off with the first of the fan reviews, who I have no idea who it's from?
Yep, HG says, Connor, what's the score?
There you go. Joshua's granddad said, Rugby's 3 Ps, possession, position and points. For 30 minutes, FC had 2 out of the 3, but then it turned to piss poor performance. Bossed in the forwards once interchange came on. Massey, Fash, Washy, no go forward. Crazy Frog tried, but made some poor choices. Good try though. As for the rest, Hanley and Minnie performed. Only one ref complaint. Why no video for the Crusher tackle? The Crusher tackle?
The one that's sicker. Sorry, not the one the one on the Hull player.
Well, obviously. No, but which one? I can't remember this.
Who was it? I can't. It was one in the first half, and I cannot think of what. I feel like it was on Jake Connor, but I might be wrong with that.
Well, if it was on Jake Connor, it wasn't real, was it? It was probably faking. Let's be fair.
No, it was a really clear one.
Okay,
and
well,
that point, referee turns and looks at the big screen, doesn't he? Like whilst backing away and everything else. Sky replayed it about 6 times in the ground.
oh right. Do you know what? I've got no memory of it, so it can't have been that bad.
Yeah.
Oh well, sorry. Mark W, what did he have to say?
He said, perfect response after last week. A slow start, but we soon pulled it together, and our performance increased tenfold when Hinchy came on, with much better creativity and speed in attack. Bruff, McIntosh and Murph were outstanding, plus Hadley impressed me for Hull. As good as the 2 points are, the performance has left me with much more belief in a top 8 finish. Up the claret and gold edge.
POB 1976 said Huddersfield played well and fully deserved the win.
Phil Nadin says Hull just don't want to get in the top 4 or even get to a grand final. Irrespective of what Radder says, the players just can't be arsed. Huddersfield played well and they wanted the win more. God help us against St Helens.
Before we get your thoughts, I think I've remembered the tackle because Hicks asked the player if he was okay. The player said he was okay, so then when the Hull players started to protest about it, he said, "He's okay. What's the problem?" and just played on. I think was the one, if I remember it right now. So yeah, What did you make of it then? Do you agree with Phil? That's quite damning, saying the players just can't be arsed. I didn't quite get that feeling myself. What do you think?
Well, firstly on that Crusher tackle, Owen Buckley was all right the week before, but Sika Manu still got a 3-match ban for it.
Okay.
But yeah, it looked like they just couldn't be bothered, really.
Manu got no match ban for breaking Tony Clubb's spine a few years ago, though, remember? So it's probably good that they're taking them seriously. But anyway, move back to what your views are.
It was just... So, yeah, we had plenty of possession and position. We had maybe 4 penalties in about the first 15, 20 minutes. We just didn't look like we had a clue how to get over the line.
Yeah, it did sort of feel like you weren't necessarily having the same sort of structures and connections. And do you think you put a lot of that down to Maludi at fullback, who's a real trier? Is a fun player to watch, but doesn't feel like a Super League level fullback yet for me. His decision making, like you mentioned before, not top notch.
I think part of the problem is Connor. We had Kelly, and we had Maludi. They're all complete mavericks.
And ball runners, yeah.
Like, where's the organiser? There wasn't one. Danny Houghton isn't a captain. He's not got the team management skills that somebody like Mark Sneed has. I think we should have started with Liam Harris. Well, had Liam Harris on the in the team, because he wasn't
even in the 19-man squad.
Yeah, I know he wasn't. Yeah,
that's an interesting one. Yeah, no injury or anything like that. No
injury.
Because it had worked reasonably well for you the week before. I know you weren't great against.
Well, Rafa pulled Harris off at half time because he wanted Connor in the halfbacks.
But that's fine though. That gives you that opportunity, doesn't
exactly.
it? It gives you an option.
Harris, you've got that as then an option. Whereas if you don't have him at all, you've got no options. And whilst Connor can create things at half-back, I actually prefer him in the centre because he's more of a weapon then when there's a kick. Because aerially he's very good. So I think you need to have Connor in the centres. And then, yes, you can always pull him into half-back if you want to try that. But time and time again this season, we've seen that Connor and Kelly just don't work as a pairing.
Yeah.
They're too individualistic. And I didn't really think Kelly did a lot at all on Thursday. Our forwards aren't good enough. We've got Scott Taylor who makes yards. And, actually Thursday was the one example this year that goes against what I said earlier of Minicello actually making yards going forward. He seemed to be running more directly than laterally.
It was interesting to me that Payer, Taylor and Green, who were your only real three frontline prop forwards in this game, all started the game, whereas
he did that
Huddersfield
again
loaded the bench with Ikehefo on the bench, which they bring on their more dynamic forward off the bench. So basically, he was coming on at the point where Taylor was having to be into his 25th, 30th minute on the field, which...
But the problem is, if we didn't start with Taylor, Peer and Green, then we wouldn't make any yards at all to start with.
And you did sort of feel like maybe territory-wise you were winning the game, but I think in the first 20 minutes or so. But I felt that was as much because Huddersfield were making a few mistakes in coming out of their own end of the field. But they took the lead first, and it was a really well-worked try for Daniel Smith. But it was the Jordan Rankin try in the first half that kind of started to make me feel worried that things weren't right at Hull on Thursday night, or for Hull on Thursday night, because there was a huge gap to walk through there. I still not sure where Maludi was.
Yeah, but I think, the one that Hicks went to the video ref for, initially I couldn't work out why. The one that Kelly was disallowed, but, completely the right decision to go to the video ref for it because it was just out. But that was the only time we looked like scoring within the first half hour or so. The only time we really created anything.
Yeah,
our defence, we have players not in the right positions. Amongst Hull fans, Jack Lurgan is constantly getting slated for, being in the wrong position. But it's not his fault. It's the players inside him that are then causing him to have to defend against three players. I thought Carlos had a really bad game on Thursday. He didn't seem to be able to decide whether to pass the ball to Lurgan or not. And then by the time he did pass the ball to Lurgan had nowhere to go or was in touch already or whatever. So that didn't work. Maludi is much, much better on the wing. The problem is, because our forwards are so ineffective, it's then putting all the pressure on our backs to make yards coming out of defence. But then when it comes to the players that your back should be playing off, they're out of position or they've made 3 drives already, so they're too tired to do anything.
Yeah. Weirdly, I felt like the second half, Huddersfield were miles better, but actually on the scoreboard, they technically won the second half. Hull did 12 points to 10. But that was, that wasn't really relevant because it was right at the end when Danny Houghton scored that final. It never felt like it was going to be tense or close or anything like that, did it really? I've got to give a lot of credit to Huddersfield in this game. As Paul said, they played well and they fully deserved the win. They were better than Hull. They made a lot of errors in the first half, I thought, which kind of hampered themselves, did Huddersfield. But Hull, like you were saying, didn't have the right organisation in their attacking structures to take any sort of advantage of that, really. But Darnell McIntosh scored 2 tries in the second half, and they were both absolute cracking tries. It was his 21st birthday, and I could not understand how he wasn't in the man of the match 4. He'd even scored his he scored his second try just after probably they made the announcement of who was up for the voting. But even by that stage, he'd been really involved, and he'd made an error early on. And I think the character of young players is always tested when they make an error early on, because Darnell McIntosh I've seen make a few stupid errors in defending kicks, but he came back from it really well and he wanted the next carry, and he knocked on the next carry. But after that, for the last 60 minutes of the game, I thought he was absolutely impeccable and had a brilliant game. So I did sing him out.
Yeah,
praise.
I think as well what we're lacking is an Ikehefo, Paulie, somebody that's going to come on off the bench.
Absolutely huge bloke, yeah.
Yeah, people are saying that Bernick next year will do it, but he's still only 21, and I think it's a lot of pressure to put on some young kid that we've just signed from London. So that is what I would like to see us in the market for, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Fair enough. Danny Brough got a lot of plaudits as well in this game. I thought he was This is Danny Bro's season. This season seems to go one good game, one shit game, one game where he gets banned, and then 3 games out. And and I think for Huddersfield's sake, they might want to drop him next week in case it's his bad game. But for Wigan's sake, I think he might have his bad game against us. Sebe Kahifo did get injured in the second half. That's a worry for Huddersfield because it looked like it was a painful one.